so I switched up my station a little bit. I folded the canvas in half, I pushed it up a little bit so I had some table space here, and I'm going to grab some of the clay that I set aside when I rolled the slabs. I'm gonna grab some, take a small piece, put the rest back in the bag. Anytime you're not using clay, you don't want it sitting out, you want it in a bag. We're going to roll coils and we are going to slip and score them on the inside here in the seams, spread them out, smooth them, and this is gonna reinforce our box. I'm gonna take my chunk of clay and I'm just gonna roll a coil. So I'm gonna go through that process and roll a nice long coil, and that should be able to get me through all the seams that I need. You don't want it to be too big, too fat of a coil. You want it to be a nice skinny coil. Sometimes your coil is going to get too big for your workspace, but it's not going to be skinny enough. And so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to break this coil in half, set the other piece aside, and keep rolling. All right, so this coil in thickness is probably about the thickness of a pencil. And that's more than plenty. I could even roll this thinner and then I'd have less clay to spread. Probably roll it just a little bit thinner, but this is perfect. So what I want to do is I want to use our templates to measure out the pieces that I need. So I'm going to need a few different pieces. I'm going to need 2 of the 3-inch side. I'm gonna need 4 of the 3.5, so we'll start there. So I'm going to line this up with my coil. I'm gonna cut, and then I can take the piece of clay and cut, or I can use the template again. So I have my 2 3-inch pieces. Now I need 4 3.5, excuse me. And I have my 4 3.5 pieces. Now I'm probably gonna need maybe 2 less than 6-inch pieces, but I can take my one of my 3x6 or my 4x6, and I'm just gonna use the 6-inch side. Okay, so I've got 1 piece out of this one, and then I have this little piece left over. So I need to grab my coil, my bigger coil, and roll again. All right, go ahead and grab 1 more 6-inch piece, and we should be ready to go. Take whatever's left of the coil that you created and put it back in the bag. You can spray it down and you add it back to the bag. Don't add too much water. We don't want clay soup. All right, pulling my canvas back in front of me. I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna try to do this so you guys can see it, but I'm gonna start by scoring all of my coils that I made. Scoring one side of them, so that way they're ready to just go right in. All right, and there's no particular order to start in. You need to fill in all of the seams. that we have inside this box. So all of the edges inside need to be filled in. I also need to score on the inside here just a little bit. And I kind of do a zigzag. So I take my needle tool and in the edges, I kind of just will go back and forth in a zigzag. That's the best and fastest and easiest way to score edges that I personally use. Just really nice and fast. So I scored every seam that I have in here now. I need my slip. I'm gonna put slip on the coil pieces that I'm gonna put inside. I just think that that's easier rather than trying to fit the slip into the box itself. Okay, so I've got one coil and two coils, and obviously I'm not gonna do all of these at the same time, but two to start sounds like a good idea to me. So I'm gonna tip this towards the camera. And I'm gonna take one coil. This is the coil that's going to go down in the bottom. So actually I'm gonna do it down here. So I'm going to place it down in the bottom there, okay? And let me just get it into position. So it's nestled down in the crack there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use that modeling tool that we brought up earlier in this video. And I'm going to squish the coil into place and then put another coil in and do the same thing. And then once all the coils are in, I'm gonna use this tool to spread the clay out so there's not lumps of clay on the inside. So one of these pieces is gonna go right into this edge here. Put it into this edge right here. So I'm gonna put all the pieces into place, and then I will show you the smoothing. Okay, so I have all of my coils into all of the seams on the inside of the box. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my modeling tool and I'm going to begin to press them into place and smooth the clay out. You can also remove some of the excess clay. You don't need that entire coil to reinforce that seam. Just be careful that you don't remove it all. Also be sure to reinforce your walls as you do this. So right now, as I'm in this corner here, I'm holding the corner on the outside. My thumb is on the opposite side. And as I am manipulating the clay and pushing towards the outside, my hand's holding firm on the outside, pushing back in. So far, I have smoothed the coils on these two sides. A little rough still. I will take the time to smooth all this stuff out really nice, but I'm going to continue to smooth out all the other coils now. I wanted to also give you a slightly different perspective of what this looks like. So you'll see that I have 3 coils still right here. And so the first thing that I like to do is taking my modeling tool, I like to push it in to the seam. Sometimes you'll hear the clay pop. That's a good thing. It's because you had an air pocket in between where you added that clay in the slip and the seam itself, and so you're sealing that up, so that's good. All right, so next what I like to do is I like to sort of take my modeling tool and I like to pull some of the clay up into the wall, and then I can push some of the other clay down, and I can change the direction of my tool also. And you probably noticed that I am removing quite a bit of clay. I really don't need those coils in there, all of that clay, to really make that seam sturdy. Just need a little bit to kind of push into the seam, and then I can remove the rest. Okay, so I really roughly have taken the time to place coils on the insides using the slip and score method, and then smooth them out, push them into the crevices between each of the 4 pieces that we have here, and then smooth them out. There's still a lot of smoothing that needs to be done there, but the main work is done. You'll also notice that I've got, this showing where those 4 pieces meet. You can really easily do the same thing, but instead of adding clay, you just rough up the clay that's there and smooth it out. So I'm scoring into the 2 pieces of clay where they join, and then I'm just smoothing it back out.